A swinger is always prepared, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Welcome to Sex and the Solo Girl. Join your host, her inner circle, and expert guests weekly for chats about dating, secure attachment, the solo lifestyle, doing relationships differently, and of course, sex. And here's your host, Janice Formichella.
What is swinging? How do you get into it? And why would you? Today we are joined by Victoria Joseph, the owner of Birds of a Feather Matchmaking, which specializes in matching up non-monogamous individuals with other non-monogamous individuals. She kind of got her start as a swinger, so she's going to educate us today on quote unquote, the lifestyle and what you may know if you want to get into it. Hello, Victoria.
Hello. How's it going?
It's going really well. I'm really excited to cover this topic and excited that I met you because I don't think I know very many swingers right now. And I think that this would be a topic of interest to my listeners. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. This is going to be a blast. I suppose, as I often say, and as a lot of podcasters say, let's get into it.
Do it.
So, and I will defer to you quite a bit. I guess I'll say for my listeners, I have a lot of experience with a lot of the topics that I cover, but not this one. And also not the anal sex episode that I dropped recently. So let's, lay the foundation. What is swinging?
So swinging is typically when a couple goes out and has sexual experiences together. And swinging in general typically is when two couples have sex with another couple. But within the lifestyle, there are a lot of different dynamics, and oftentimes swinging and lifestyle is intertwined, or it's an umbrella term. But pretty much it could just be anything under the experiences of involving other people. So it could be threesomes. It could just be hot wifing. It could be parallel play. It could be soft swap.
My goodness. Okay. So let's first, I do know what hot wife is, but I'm not sure if the listeners do. I think that's pretty sexy. What is hot wife and parallel play?
Yes. So hot wifing is when the husband watches his wife have sexual experiences with another man. And it's when it's from a hot wife standpoint that he has a sense of pride. But in that same situation, another term is called cuckolding, and there is an element of humiliation in that mix. So same kind of dynamic. The husband's watching the wife have sex with another man, but either it's from sense of pride or a sense of humiliation and getting off on either of those kind of emotions.
Humiliation of the husband.
Yes. So sometimes the wife will say things to the husband to arouse him and humiliate him, or the man will say things to the husband and humiliate him, and the husband gets off on that. Hot wifing is the man just really enjoying his wife essentially be a porn star right in front of his eyes, or through video, or even hearing about stories afterwards. He doesn't even have to be in the room, essentially.
Yeah, I happen to know of actually 3 people off the top of my head who played with hot wife whilst the husband was out of town and did it on video and either let him watch or send it to him. We could maybe do a little mini-sode on this. So if anyone has an experience, please DM me. And parallel play, I assume that's 2 couples having sex with each other, like in the same room or something.
Yeah, it's just having sex next to another couple, not essentially touching each other. Maybe kissing, but it's really just like hands off. But you guys are pretty much just watching each other.
That's pretty hot. I will say I am a bit of an exhibitionist. So as far as
with you.
Group sex goes or swinging, that would probably be up my alley. But again, topic for another time. And can we talk about emotions and the fact that most swingers would consider this to be confined to a sexual experience?
Yes. So with swinging, you're not having multiple intimate, loving relationships with other people. You're not saying I love you to other people. Typically, you're not like having relationships or traveling with these people. It's pretty much you and your partner, and you're emotional just for each other.
So this leads to the question of the difference between swinging and polyamory, which I think some people may be horribly confused about. So
yes. Yeah, poly is definitely the most common word that most people hear, and without realizing like there's actually branches and whatnot, or an umbrella term, ethical non-monogamy. So the three main relationship dynamics is open, poly, and swinging. So poly, that's having multiple loving, intimate relationships. That's having boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, or multiple partners, and that what that looks like for them. And that, as you know, there's tons of different dynamics within just being poly that happen, like kitchen table poly, hinge relationships, all that kind of good stuff. Triads, and then with swinging, it's partnership. And then you go out and have these experiences are just like more gratifying. Like involving other people in a relationship is just for fun. Whereas poly is for love and intimacy. And then open relationships is having the opportunity to do things separately, separate dates, hall passes, going on vacations and having flings. And pretty much essentially to make is everyone needs to be consenting and everyone needs to be aware and enthusiastic. So if one of those things is underlying, then it needs to be worked on and communicated, and everyone needs to be open and honest. And
we're going to talk about that. Can you share with us perhaps some other misconceptions or myths about swinging / the lifestyle?
Yes. People, when they think of, sharing your partner with somebody else, you think, oh, you're looking for an excuse to cheat. And that is far from the truth, because being ethically non-monogamous, everyone is consenting and everyone is aware. And it's different because cheating is when you're being deceptive. You're not being fully informative. You're doing things behind someone's back. It's violating boundaries and, agreements and rules, if there's any like that you have between your partner. So it's like, it's not an excuse to cheat. It's you're doing these things together to build your bond and your trust, because that's all you need, a strong trust to be in a relationship like this.
So the fact that couples do this together, not exactly cheating. And I think that a lot of couples get a lot out of it. Maybe that's something else that we could touch on, if you don't mind, Victoria. Why would a couple want to do this? I have to say, I'm in a very committed relationship. This is not my jam. Okay. Like I said, exhibitionism, absolutely. In fact, my partner and I talked about it recently. I don't want to see him have sex with another woman. Personally, I'm poly, and it's cool with me that he has other relationships. Whatever.
Yeah, you just don't want to see it right now.
No, I really don't. I think that would just not my thing. So why would a couple want this? I happen to know. So I'm an ex-Mormon. I think I mentioned when we saw each other last time. And ex-Mormons get hella into this. I will tell everybody. Not all, but a lot of ex-Mormon couples dive deep into this. So why would they? What would compel a couple to do this?
I initially heard of the term swinging when I was in high school. And it was immediately just really appealing to me, because it was like you could have sex with other people and then you come back and be with your partner and, live your normal life and just go out and have fun. And so essentially the number one part of it is just having fun and having these cool experiences. It's making friendships. And that's kind of where it delved into. So a good part about swinging is just having diversity with people, trying new things, just being a part of new experiences, because it's a small community, but it's also a big community. Like there's resorts, there's cruises, there's hotel takeovers, there's just getting together and, house parties and clubs, and there's just so many things. And it's like a really amazing community. And I found, and when I started this journey, because like the idea was appealing to me, then I'm like, okay, let's do something about it. I initially got inspired. Not initially. Initially, it was learning about it, but then it continued to be something on my mind that I was interested in because of Tumblr. And Tumblr, it was a really cool social site where there was like beautiful gifs and stories, and I would read about that kind of stuff, and I was like, that's nice.
Oh my God, Tumblr! I haven't thought about that in a while.
Right. And so I initially got into swinging because my husband and I when we were long distance, we actually wrote eroticas to each other about it. Because when we initially talked about it, we both were like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So we're like, okay. So then when we were long distance, we wrote eroticas about swinging together. When I was on deployment. So that was like a fun way to pass time. When we moved to San Diego, but I went on Set Life, and because that's where you could find like in-person events at first. And first we went to a poly meetup. Wasn't quite for us. We went to a Shabai rope tie meetup. Wasn't quite for us. And then we met swingers and we're like, oh, these are our people. And ever since then, we've just been in that community, and they're our favorite people, just because everyone who's a swinger also is very liberated and they like to have all these sexual experiences. And another reason why we became swingers was because Ron and I met when I was pretty young, and he's like, well, I still want you to have these experiences and I'd be happy to do them with you. And I was like, okay, cool.
And I think that's why a lot of ex-Mormons get into this, because, I mean, in most cases, ex-Mormons don't have any sexual experience with anyone else. And so they decide that this is a good way to do it, for better or worse. I mean, I've heard good stories, I've heard bad, everything in between. But yeah, sexual curiosity.
Yeah, exactly. And so that could be doing things with other women, that, doing things with other men. It's like using different toys. It's just, different positions. Like there's just like so much fun that can be had in positions that you find yourself in that you didn't know was like existed or kind of deal. But yeah, you just learn a lot from other people, but also just continue to build on your sexual compatibility with your partner. And so that's kind of like the fun part. Like you're just super liberated. You have a super supportive partner. They want you to have fun. They want to have fun with you. And pretty much the big thing about swinging too is it's best to have compersion. And compersion is being happy in your partner's happiness and pleasure. And so that's, a lot of people start out feeling jealous, but then eventually you're like, I'm enjoying myself because they're enjoying themselves. And I know they're going to come home and be with me, and we're going to reconnect, and we're going to have a very fun rest of the week because we're thinking about these really cool experiences that we just had together. So it's kind of like a nice little like high that you get for days after a really good like weekend.
Yeah, sure. The afterglow. Which I love. So you can start out jealous and just work through it?
What I say to people when they're like, I can't see my person doing that. I don't want any of that. I would hate that. I would just feel this. I would feel that. That tells me just like a little bit of inner work needs to be done, like communication. Like so oftentimes people are worried about it because they feel, and I'm not saying you specifically when I'm talking about this, you might feel like inadequate in some kind of way, or you're worried that they might abandon you, or you might worry that they'll like someone better than you. And that's pretty much just something that you have to work on, because if you know that you're in your full authentic self and they love you for you, they're not going to go anywhere. So you can be happy that they're going to have this fun in front of you. It's almost like it's like having your own personal porn star in front of you, and everyone's just having a good time, laughing or giggling and just having a pleasurable moment. And then you get turned on that because everyone in the room is just glowing and having a good time, instead of turning it around and being like, having those feelings of jealousy. Like, are they having a better time than us? Are they doing this? And it's just like, you're in your own head. And so if you can remove and rewire yourself to think in a way that is like, I don't need to be jealous, or if I am jealous, I want to talk through it. Like, why I feel this way because of this. Like, is that something that we can work on? Or is there something that you can do in the mix? Is it like, can we share a kiss in the middle of it? Like, can we just be reassuring? So a lot of it's like reassuring essentially, too. So there's just like a lot of different ways jealousy can turn into compersion, but that's definitely an inner work, like self-discovery kind of journey. Like, why am I feeling jealous? And then like, is it because I'm not in enough shape? Then it's like, okay, let me do things that will get in shape. Let me get this look. Or and if it's like, you don't have to also change yourself, you should like yourself in any of your shapes and sizes. So it is like a mentality in that kind of way. And it's easier said than done, of course. But it's like, if you know you're hot shit, then it doesn't matter like what's going on. You're a fun person and they're a fun person. And then you just kind of
interesting. So I guess if you and your partner desire to do this, just keep in mind that you might have to work through some of this. And I will say inadequacy, fear of my partner leaving, absolutely no. I'm not insecure about that at all. I just don't want to watch it. So different strokes for different folks.
For sure.
Yes. Love it. So if you're comfortable sharing, are you currently swinging?
Yes.
Okay.
I've been in the lifestyle we've been non-monogamous for 8 years now.
Okay, amazing. So, and this actually, I'm just curious, do you guys consider yourself poly?
No, we are not poly. We have really great friends all around the States, but we don't consider ourselves poly. No.
And see, this is such an example of different strokes for different folks, because I don't want to swing, but I'm cool with him having other committed relationships, whereas you are happy to swing but don't want other committed relationships. Exactly. I love this so much. Let's get into the nitty gritty. I mean, where to start? How does this happen? If you're curious about this, where do you go with your curiosity? Yeah, what would be the very first step before just jumping into a swingers party? How do you do this?
First thing that I would recommend doing is figuring out what you might be interested in. And that will take some research. That's looking into different scenarios and locations and stuff like that. And so something that my husband and I did, that I actually created an activity which talks about opening your relationship and how to have that conversation. And on that page, I have an activity called Yes, No, or Maybe. And so on this page, I have a list of things that are kinky that can be just done between the two of you. I have a list that leans poly. I have a list that leans open, and a list that leans like swinging lifestyle. And essentially what you do is that you print out this piece of paper, or you go your separate ways and do this activity separately for like 10, 15 minutes. You write down things that you're interested in, and then you come back and have a conversation about it. So on this activity specifically, yes, no, or maybe, you write yes, no, or maybe on any and all these options that I have. So for example, in this kinky column, I have explore different kinks. I have domination, submission, I have butt stuff. There's blogging. There's like, that's kind of like a long list of just things you can do. Squirting, like a sex swing. And then you say yes, no, or maybe to these things. And then poly, having another boyfriend or girlfriend, being deeply intimate, traveling separately, going to a poly meetup, like kind of light-handed or light things that you can do as a poly curious person, or an open relationship. It's like having a hall pass. You like the idea of personal freedom. You like the idea of kissing strangers, playing separately and talking to people one-on-one. And then swinging, soft swap, soul swap, group sex, gangbang, or just having a friend with benefits, or like the parallel play thing. So there's a lot more options that I have on this activity. And so if you don't have this specific piece of paper, I just recommend like looking on Google, like things to do that lay like this. And then you can just make notes separately, like I'm interested in this, and then aligning and seeing where you match up, seeing where you might, in the maybe area, and then seeing where things are a no, and then just having a discussion on it. And then the next thing you would do after having that conversation, it's like, okay, let's do something about it. So then what you do is that you can go on various websites.
Well, what about Reddit, Victoria?
People use Reddit. Yes. Okay. You find the local club near me on Reddit. So it's definitely something that people kind of look through. And I know people who meet off Reddit. Reddit is an option that can be used. There are just different websites that can be used. Look them up, like swinging website, make an account, and then figure out like when there is an event. And when you go for the first time, don't play with anybody but you and your partner. That's really important. Yeah. So you just go there and you just look around, you make conversations, you make friends, but don't play with anybody else other than your partner. And that way you can see what's going on, see how people are interacting, seeing what people are doing. You guys should have fun together in like the space or whatever. And then at the end of the night, talk about it. Like, what did you like? What didn't you like? And then you move forward from there. So I guess that's another like misconception is like if you go to a play party, you have to play, you have to interact, you have to get naked, you have to make out with everybody. That is not the case at all. When a place is run well, consent is mentioned, consent is everywhere. People are good about asking, you feel safe, and you don't feel pressure to do anything.
Okay, that's very, very, very cool.
Yes, you can make your own experiences, and you can let people know like, yeah, I'm just here to check it out. It's our first time here. letting people know your intention for the night. And even if you're there to play, like, we would love to have a good time tonight. And she wants to try DVP, like, you know, and DVP stands for double vaginal penetration.
I was just going to ask.
Times two, yeah.
Is there a difference in your mind? So I haven't been to a swingers party, but I have been to many a sex party. Would you say that there's a difference?
Well, I guess it just depends on the party. So sometimes you go to a party and it's just a regular party and then sex happens. Like, there's a space for it that people can just go and drift away and have some fun. Whereas there's other parties where there's like one space where everyone is doing something at one time. Like, some people are doing foreplay, some people are getting a massage, or some people aren't having group sex, or there is separate things that happen. So like, a sex party to me is just something that like means that you have a party and there is space for sex to happen. And that could look like a lot of different things.
I had, some friends in Melbourne who would organize these, and there was kind of a room for it. And that's kind of how I discovered I was into exhibitionism. Okay, thank you. Another thing I wanted to discuss that you actually very briefly mentioned is swinger terminology. Can you, maybe say a few of the most important ones or the most interesting ones?
Yeah. I'll go through my little list. We did cover.
I'm writing this down.
We did go over some good stuff. So swinging, of course, soft swap. Soft swap is when you do everything but sex. So that's when you're, eating each other out or doing blowjobs, you're kissing, you're swapping in that kind of way, but there's no penetrative sex that happens in soft swap.
Okay.
Full swap is when there is penetrative sex that happens between
hard swap. Okay.
It switches between hard swap or full swap. So
cool.
Either one works that way. It means the same thing. And then threesomes, of course, there's 3 people involved, and that can be either 2 women and 1 guy, 2 guys and 1 woman, or but it also could change where like either the man or the woman is bisexual, and those different kind of experiences could happen in this little threesome.
And let's just be clear, there is a distinct difference between group sex or a threesome and swinging, because in swinging, the two of them would be in a relationship, possibly married, very committed. In a threesome, which I have had also a mini, what I was into is everybody kind of having a mutual relationship with each other, not necessarily committed, not married, just all knowing each other is what I've done in the past.
Yes, there are different feelings, and it's actually like just a threesome alone can be a very interesting experience, because typically it is partners doing everything together, but sometimes like someone's wife wants, like there are some, like in your situation, you don't want to see your partner having sex with other people. There are swingers who still, they are separate play only, which is another the terminology, where you are swingers and you do full swap with other couples, but you don't want to see it. You're in separate rooms, maybe doing it at the same time, or you're doing it at different times, wherever the night takes you. But so separate play is another terminology, and that means you're not doing things together, you're not visualizing it, but you're still having a good time. You're having a connection, or you're having a good time with this person, and you're not thinking about your husband, but he's having a good time, and you don't have to see it. So that might be
all right, interesting.
A thing. Exploring bisexuality for men and women, using sex toys, and so using toys like a double-sided dildo, and that's not, I guess that's not really swinging terminology, but that's like an experience that you can have with swingers. Orgy. So an orgy is just people having lots of sex at a sex party. It's pretty much, those are kind of intertwined in my opinion too. Group sex, same thing. It's pretty much, I would say 4 to 5 plus is considered. I'd say more like actually 5 plus is considered group sex, because 4 is just a full swap. 5 plus, that's like a group. And then we talk about hot wifing, double penetration. That means there is a penis in the vagina and a penis in the butthole. There's also a terminology called airtight, which is when you're doing DP with another dick in your mouth, so all the holes are sealed. DVP, double vaginal penetration, when there's 2 penises in the vagina. A gangbang, which is when there is one person, typically a woman, who has a group of men, probably like 3 to 4 plus. Like there are some people who have really big gangbangs, like up to 10 guys, or there's some professionals that have like 30. Like I don't know, that's kind of big, but that's not typically what happens at swinger parties. It's generally like at most 7, I would think. But
and
from
you'd
what
be
I heard,
surprised. A lot of husbands organize these for their wives, kind of on the reg. I knew of this in
I know
Melbourne.
a couple that does that.
Yeah.
That's their thing. That's their special sauce. Are these I don't know how frequent, but it's game bangs, and then the husband is finding the men, seeing that they're good, letting them know like what they're expected of them and how it kind of works in their favor in that kind of situation. And then we talked about parallel play.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
So those are the main terminologies to know, I would say, to see what everyone's into.
This is fun, despite me not really wanting to explore it. I mean, my partner and I have talked about me with 2 men and him organizing it, which would be that. Okay, so maybe I'm more into it than I'm letting on, but I would have very specific ways. Okay, maybe I am a swinger after all. We haven't explored it yet, but maybe. Tori, before we take a quick commercial break, can you please plug your matchmaking business or anything that you want to plug?
Yes, I would love to mention my matchmaking business, Birds of Feather Matchmaking, where we specialize in ethically open, polyamorous, and swinger lifestyle relationships. And we also do date coaching for men. And with those different packages, we offer rewriting profiles, photography, image consulting, practice dates, and if you're local, a wingman service as well. And we're also doing dating events. So we have a non-monogamous speed dating event coming up in October if you are in the Chicago area.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. And as far as social media or a website, would you like to let people know where they can find you if they're curious about this?
Yes. Yeah, so my website is birdsofeathermatchmaking.com, and my Instagram and FetLife handles are ENM Matchmaker.
Okay, and everybody go to the show notes. Please go and give Victoria some podcast love. Now we're going to take a very quick commercial break so people can hear about my breakup services, and then we'll be back to talk about what happens at a party a little bit deeper than we already have. I am passionate about the opportunity that a breakup gives us for a fresh start, but it can sure be hard to see that when you're heartbroken, right? I have worked with people all around the world to beat their breakups with my own 3-part process. I've created an ebook that guides readers through each step using practical advice straight from an experienced breakup coach. Click on the link at the top of the show notes and get your copy of the Broken Heart Repair Kit, the 3-step method for beating your breakup, at my special Sex and the Solo Girl release price of just $24.99. And remember, you've got this. This is so much fun, by the way. Yes. Welcome back, everybody. If you are ready to go to a party, Victoria has talked a bit about what happens at a party, different terminology, but let's maybe touch on some more specifics other than how the couples get down. What is some etiquette for your first party or just parties in general?
I love this question. Yeah, so there's definitely things to keep in mind if you are going to your first swinger party, or you've gone to your first swinger party and now you want to take it up a notch. Mm-hmm. What I recommend is making sure, first of all, you have to go into the party in a good mood. Right? You don't, you want to make sure you both want to be there enthusiastically, and you go with the intention of, you want to set your expectations, because you can go to a party, but you might not have sex with other people, but there's still a way to go to a party and still have a great time. Essentially, what I recommend people going into a party is go in there and make friends and have great conversation. But you can go in there with like a goal, like, oh, I want to make out with somebody, or I want to see you make out with somebody. And then like, okay, let's actually go and do something about it. So you that's how you start your night. And then typically when you go to events, you can see the RSVP list. And I would also recommend looking through the list and just being able to have a conversation like, hey, what do you think of this couple? Because you might be surprised what your couple or what your partner might be into and what they're not into. And then over time, you figure out like, you think they'll say yes or no. And honestly, sometimes, we're looking at pictures of people, but like they can be totally different in person, for better or for worse. They could also just have an amazing personality, and that's what you like about them. And you know that they'll just be like a great time.
Okay.
So you can have that conversation. Like, what do you think of this couple? What do you think of this couple? And, say yes or no, but also be open to change and flexibility in the moment of things, but also start your night with like your intentions, like what you want to do, what would be fun. So that's what I would recommend starting off, having conversations. So like being a swinger, you have to communicate tons and tons and tons. Anything that's on your head, you have to, like, good or bad, express it. All right. Express your worries, express this, express that, blah, blah, blah. So you had that conversation, and now you're about to head to your first party. What I recommend doing, you get to the party. Sometimes there's icebreakers, which are really helpful. Like sometimes there's speed dating, and you speed date with other couples for like 30 minutes. Or sometimes there's games if you're going to like a house party, or sometimes there's different icebreakers, but sometimes there's not. I personally love icebreakers, but that's not always the case. So to be a swinger, you actually have to learn how to flirt again. You have to interject in conversations, because everyone is there to meet people. And sometimes you go to events and people do know each other, and you don't want to impose, you don't want to get in their conversation, but that is more than welcome. Everyone at these parties are super, super friendly, and they're happy to talk to you as little or as much as whatever you want to maybe talk about. So you have to kind of work on your flirt game a little bit. Let's say things are going well, you're talking to this other couple. One thing that I recommend is making sure that both couples are talking to each other. Like the husbands are talking to each other, the wives are talking to each other, and the wives are talking to each other, and the husbands are talking to each other. Make sure there's like a four-way communication thing, just to see if everyone's kind of vibing off each other, because oftentimes what happens is a four-way connection can be challenging because one half of the couple is essentially, they have the personality of a wet sock. They suck. And that's going to be no fun for anybody. Make sure everyone's conversing with each other. And then one thing that I've noticed too is most people are first move. So then no one makes a move. So I recommend planning to make a move, being inviting. And one way you can kind of gauge if somebody likes you is you can be having a conversation, then you say, hey, would you like to go dance? And then they're like, yeah, sure, let's dance. And then before you get on the dance floor, that's when you really want to be really good about consent. And it is a bit of a practice, because you're like, you go to a club and you just kind of like a free for all, like you're out in the wild world. But like at these events, you want to feel safe, you want to feel respected. And so make sure you ask, like, hey, would you like to dance? Oh, hey, can I like touch my hands on your legs? Can I touch your boobs? Like you can phrase it in a way where it's like, wow, you're gorgeous. May I kiss you? And like, you want to ask verbally first, just to give them like the space to be in, like, oh, not right now. Oh, I need this first. But yeah, let's make out. So there is the art of consent before even getting undressed or anything like that too. Because like when you go to the dance floor, it gets kind of loud, right? So I would honestly, before getting to the dance floor or moving forward, find out what they're looking for to do that evening. Like, have you guys been here before? What do you guys like to do? And then that's when you figure out, oh, we play separate. Oh, we do things together. Oh, we're only here to do a soft swap. Get that information ahead of time, and then see if it aligns with you. And if they're also engaging with conversation with you, because sometimes people will just play nice, or some people will act like they're being friendly, but they're not. So kind of gauging this conversation, talking about things that are sexy. You don't want to talk about like how you love leftovers, right? You don't want to talk about kids. You don't want to, yeah, right? People talk about recipes. Like people really do be talking about the most random things at these parties when the intention is to have a good time. So keep this conversation sexy, share experiences, share what you're looking for. They would be interested in something like that. And then trying to gauge it from there. And if they seem excited and they're also asking questions about yourself, that's a good sign that they're also interested in you. Actually, you know what? Something that I do, just to kind of make sure everything is like on the same page. We had a good conversation, and then find space apart, like go grab some water, or go grab your chapstick, and verify with your partner, like, hey, what did you think of them? Are you interested in them? And they might say yes, no. And then either you keep things moving or you go back and find them. And then you let them know, like, hey, we really enjoy talking with you. We think you guys are really hot. We would be interested in playing with you at a later time. And that way you're not putting the pressure on, like, let's go right now, right? So you say like, hey, would love to, play with later. And then that gives them the opportunity to come back and find you. And that's when it's easily reciprocated. That way they can either decide to go about their evening the way they wanted to, or they come back and find you and then you move forward. So there's a lot of different scenarios you could find yourself in. You could have the conversation. It's an art really, but it takes, some practice, but it can be pretty interesting that way. So anyways, you get to this. Yeah. So you want to try to relieve the pressure, but you still want to have fun and make sure everyone is on the same page, because it's not fun if someone feels like they're taking one for the team, which you shouldn't do.
So what do you mean by that?
So taking one for the team means that you're having sex with someone just because their partner's hot, but you don't particularly find the person that you're about to hook up with hot.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's like oftentimes the men don't take care of themselves, but the women are really, really hot. And because men think that women don't care about look, from the truth. We do care about looks. We do notice when you dress up nice, and we do notice when you have good hygiene and you have cologne, you have this. And some think that they don't care. It's just for the girls. No. You definitely need to be doing the exact same things that your girl is doing.
I broke up with someone over bad hygiene.
Yeah. So, don't take one for the team. Like if you don't find your person attractive, that's not fair for you. That's not fair for them. Figure something out. Like at that point, or just don't play with them, and another person will come along. Like That's kind of when you have the conversation, because that's a lot of people's stories. Like you go in and you want to do full swap, but it's like, we can never find a 4-way match. Then it's like, okay, well, let's do threesomes. Okay, let's do separate stuff. Let's do, you figure out what works for you and kind of going forward from there based on experiences. Another thing too that I was remembering as I was speaking earlier, men, take the dick pills. You have to take dick pills, because in those environments, you're going to be in your head and you're not going to be able to perform.
Yeah.
And so that the pill helps with alleviating any anxiety or worry or performance issues. Sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't work. But most of the time, it does. So don't forget that.
This will be your secret to success.
Yes.
Or this is the secret to success. And when I was involved in the sex party scene, my partners would absolutely do this.
Yes. So definitely have that conversation. And then eventually, okay, let's say things are going well. Things are getting hot and heavy on the dance floor. Like, okay, let's go find a space to go play. So then you go and you get into a room and you make sure you have your condoms, lubes, toys, your little sex bag, whatever you might have in there. Bring it up with you. And then that's when you have the conversation again, like, hey, can I, and then again with like consent, like if they're not saying like, you can do whatever to me, like, let's just like, I'm down to have sex. We can just do whatever. And you don't have to have like all those little things. But like typically if they're kind of hesitant, like, hey, can I finger you? Or then like ask them, or how do you like to be fingered? Do you like it soft? Do you like it rough? Do you like to be in and out? Like asking questions about them, because everyone is so different in how they receive pleasure. So asking them like, what do you like? And then kind of working from there. And that's another way you can have the conversation about consent and making it sexy.
Something you mentioned is the sex bag. And we hadn't really talked about this, but I think it would behoove us. Let's talk about the sex bag. Then we'll talk about ending the night. So go for it, girl. Okay.
I can definitely name things off that are important to have in your bag that you might surprise you. First, definitely condoms. You want lube, and then you want any sex toys that you want. So that could be vibrators. It could be, well, typically it is vibrators, or if you're trying to bring a dildo or a double-sided dildo, or if you're trying to have fun, like bring your toys that you want to use. But yeah, typically people or women bring a vibrator to join them. And you'll want gum. You'll want chapstick. You'll want headache. You want pain reliever in case you get headaches.
What?
You'll want Tums in case you get a tummy ache from like the alcohol or anything that you might be drinking. Okay. Or if you have like a snack or something that's like sitting right, or you're nervous. So,
pain reliever. So you're just saying being prepared for anything.
Chapstick. Also bring things in case you start your period too.
A swinger is always prepared, it sounds like.
Yeah. Oh, and a ponytail. Bring ponytails.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. I love this. And
then something that we have added to our bag is actually finger condoms. that's interesting that we kind of added recently because our friend brought it and we're like, oh, these are actually kind of nice. So it's literally what they use at like at medical facilities. And they're nice too, because then you don't have to worry about like nails. You don't have to worry about like things under your nails if you're being poked or you're being fingered with, or the sensation's kind of interesting. And so, yeah, we actually now have finger condoms, and if someone is interested in that. And then also asking people both latex and non-latex condoms.
Okay.
Because people do have allergies, so asking that kind of question ahead of time.
And so perhaps also bringing different types of lube, water-based versus silicone-based. I could see that maybe coming into
flavored lube. You can bring like body powders to like lick off people. We've done that before too.
I love body powder.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I have some.
So there's just a lot of different things that you can bring. Like whatever you feel like using. Like other people probably want to use it too. And then, okay, so that's what's in the sex bag. Oh, and then sometimes another, your end of the night outfit. Like some people, like, depending on how far the commute is, like they arrive in their tight, sexy lingerie outfits or dresses, but then they want to wear like something baggy and comfortable on the way home.
This is a wonderful segue into ending the night.
Yes.
And so perhaps part of ending the night would be bringing something to change into. Okay.
Yep. And sometimes people bring snacks. Some people like bring candy or Gatorade or water. And that's kind of how they start to on their way home. They start to what? Wrap up their night. Like with snacks or candy or drinks like Gatorade or water or something like that. They just after a busy evening.
Get hydrated after all that play.
Yeah. And and so pretty much you wrap up the night, you say goodbye to the friends that you made, and then you have the conversation on the way home. Like, what did you think? How was your night? Did you have a good time? How was that person? And then having that conversation of things that you did like, things that you didn't like, and then moving forward from that way. And then, hopefully it was a great time and you guys are feeling frisky, and then you guys go home, and then you guys just have really bomb sex together. You reconnect, you reclaim, and then you go to bed and have a great night's sleep. But something else to add to the women, get boric acid.
Hello, so what the hell?
Yeah, there are boric acid suppositories that you stick inside yourself in your vagina before you go to sleep. And basically what this boric acid does, and it makes your vagina very happy and very acidic. And it's good to have that because oftentimes what happens after play parties is that your pH just goes, whoa, it gets whacked because of all the different saliva, the different fingering, the different penises, even though the different kinds of condoms.
Having sex in a hot tub can do this to you as well. Yeah. I know from recent experience.
So it reduces the chance of getting bacterial vaginosis. And I think it also helps with reducing chance of getting a UTI, but definitely BV, because you can get BV very easily, but having this boric acid in you pretty much stops you from getting BV after play parties.
Okay. And where do you get boric acid?
Yeah, I get mine off Amazon. So.
oh, wow. Okay, so head over to Amazon, get yourself boric acid.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. All right. This has been such a fun episode. I've learned a lot.
Stop shop.
I have never heard of this before. And like I often say on the show when I have people on to talk about experiences that are not my experience, I've been around the block a few times in my life. This is news to me. Fascinating. What is your favorite thing about swinging?
The friendships and the friendships you make from it, honestly. Oh. There's no better friendship than friends that you actually like and also can hook up with. Because everyone that you meet is just so open and honest and authentically themselves. There's no reason to hide anything about you. So that's why the friendships are just like so solid. And because of these friendships, I've had more experiences. Like I've traveled to Italy. I've traveled to all different states for their parties, and they've come to my wedding, and we do cute things during the fall time, like apple orchards or going to the movies. And like, you just build a friendship bond that's like no other. Like the community, like if you can figure out to build a community around you or figure out what that is, like there are no friendships like that.
Yeah, and I will second that as far as the poly community goes when you're in one. I'm not right now, surprisingly. I just happened to meet this amazing guy who was poly, and my mind was blown when I found out.
Yeah.
But when you are in a poly community, it is amazing. It's really nice to have people who share this type of culture, lifestyle.
But
it really makes you feel, like I said, you can relate to people a lot more.
Yeah.
So I will encourage people, if you're new to either poly or swinging, it is good to find communities. I mean, in every big city, there is one. The reason I'm not in one in Denver is just simply because I am too busy. I'm really happy I met someone. I'm just focusing on that relationship. I've thought so many times about, joining the book club, joining the meetups. I can't fit it in now.
So friendships, and then of course the shared experiences with my partner. That is obviously top tier.
Wow. I can't believe how different people can be. Oh my God. What does the audience think of swinging? Are you into swinging? What more would you like to learn about either poly or swinging or other different ways of doing relationships? That is a big part of this show. What else would you like to hear Victoria tell us about? I mean, she's got a lot of experience and works with, all ethically non-monogamous people. Yes. Oh, absolutely love it. I think we should do an episode on poly dating, maybe. This is great. There's so much to learn about this. Victoria, thank you for being here. I'm so glad that we met. She actually reached out to me on Facebook, and I will mention, if you're in a social media platform, take advantage of it. Hit people up, send a voice message. I do that a lot for people I don't really know, and just say, I'd like to connect. I see a lot of overlap in what we're doing. Take advantage of being on there. You can network and build friendships like Victoria and I are.
Yeah.
I will see everybody next week for an episode that is fun, edgy, and informative. That's my goal with this. Thank you, everybody who's here. Thank you to everybody who followed me over to the second show. Really appreciate you. And I will see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Sex and the Solo Girl with Janice Formichella, the podcast for those who want to add more flavor to their relationships with themselves and others. If you liked today's episode, make sure to head over to Instagram and let her know. See you next week.